All right, welcome everybody to the NWO show, your source for everything New World. Obviously, we have quite the show planned. Um, we've been hyping this one for a while, and this is gonna be some good news. Um, so, hitting it from the start. Let's talk about 3090s. We got a lot to cover, and we're gonna hit the easy one first. And there's a small echo, but there isn't. There we go. All right.
You also need to activate me in chat as well.
Yes, I got you. So here's the deal.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Talking 3090s. People who were on stream earlier, this was a big one. You know, apparently some 3090s died while playing New World. Reportedly, they were almost all on the loading screen, which is uncapped, or which formerly was uncapped. This has been, resolved by Amazon, even though Amazon is basically saying, like, there's nothing that we were doing in our programming that is any different than the industry standard for DirectX calls, which is true. Fundamentally speaking, computer hardware should have, overvoltage controllers and all of that implemented to secure and ensure that that cards are safe and that they don't cause themselves to burn out.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have a couple of different things, a couple of different videos that we've monitored from people who are substantially smarter than we are. In one case, and probably about even in the other. So let's hit the first things first. The 3000 series has been plagued with issues prior to New World. This is not new. If you think that this is new, please go to Google. This is not new news. So I'm not defending Amazon. I'm just saying, look at the questionable history around, the 3000 series, and you should see some potential issues with that. When it comes to the 3090s, we found this actually hardcore overclocking. These guys specialize in, like, high-end overclocking. And what do you say high-end overclocking? I mean actually changing physical parts on the board and, like, getting around overvoltage sensors and getting around things like that. That's their specialty. That's what they do.
They do liquid nitrogen, like super overclocking.
Yeah.
That's the sort of people that we're talking about. Like,
now, one of the things that they have complained about is that basically NVIDIA is using shunts to prevent overpowering the cards. No one would be dumb enough to hit those limits, right? Or no, and we should just trust that the systems will all work as intended, right? Turn up McLeod. Right. So here's the problem. If you're using a voltage shunt, that doesn't necessarily prevent it from pulling more power than it should take. Simply put, this is also confirmed in the J2 video, where he takes a 3090. We see all the stats and all that. One of the alarming things that J2 kind of glosses over in his video is that he sets the restriction, the software restriction, to 100% power draw. What does it do? It goes up past 120%. Now, I don't know about you, but what is the point of a software-based restriction if it has no bearing on actually restricting the card from doing anything? Now, let's go back to the 3090 launch. So 3090s launched at a time where it was a little bit difficult to get capacitors. We know that several of them used pretty shoddy capacitors that were not nearly what they needed to be using for a card of that size. I'm not dissing the 3090's performances. I'm not. They're great cards. However, they have a questionable production set of production issues. That's just what it is. Like, let's be real. Yeah, it's a $2,000 piece of equipment, but
at at those particular times, there were shortages in certain things, and when you've made a claim, when you made a sort of, when you've basically designed a card and you're sort of like generating it for the masses, like you need to have stock, and if you don't have that stock, you need to find and source it some other way, right? Like. It's bound to happen, when there's shortages going on, that you have to, look elsewhere, or sort of like, or even the manufacturers that are supplying the components, have to find some, some other means, well, not means or method, but like, some other way of being able to manufacture what the clients are asking, right?
So
it was just a fact when it came to the 3090 that, like,
yes,
wasn't a perfect situation.
And there's been so many challenges with that. Sourcing equipment in a COVID environment is very, very challenging. And we know that they used we know that they used VRM that was not conducive to what they planned on using in their schematics. We know that they used capacitors that were not what they had set as standard, and that's unfortunate. Like, because people are paying for a $2,000 item, they should get an item that has the safeguards built into it. In the past, NVIDIA has put on things like specifically overvoltage protectors in their VRMs. They no longer do this, and this creates problems because you have you have a number of challenges associated with that, mostly with cost. The more expensive VRMs need to be cooled. Overvoltage protectors are challenging to use and are not challenging to use. They're just not properly implemented most of the time, and on top of that, they have to actually be installed. You have to pick VRMs that actually have them. It is what it is. If you're going to power the card, you should have hardware based protections to prevent your cards from going above what it is. Here's the reality. We have a software side of things that has no apparent control over the card, and you have hardware that potentially has substandard parts creating larger issues for the cards in the long run. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is. That's what's happened. From there, it was just a matter of time.
It was just a matter of time, and a matter of, like, people using it enough in titles that push the envelope.
Mm-hmm. On top of this, there's additional concerns when it comes to cooling. So for those that don't know this, you can go and take a look at Gamers Nexus. Gamers Nexus did a full teardown build and heat map of the 3090s on their release. And the conclusion of that video is that they run hot. Out of the box. This is a problem. Now, here's the thing. If your card runs hot out of the box, what do you think happens 4 months later when you have dust, when you have hair, when you have other things that have been sucked up into your case and blown through your cooling system? Suddenly it runs hotter.
But I have filters on mine so my dust doesn't get in.
Yeah. You know what's real fun? Most people forget to clean out their dust filters.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was. That's
so
what
now you've restricted airflow. So now it's choking to death. And the other side of this, you can send me a DM on Discord, and I'll see what the link is. Sorry about that. Yeah. They're speaking about refunding the burned ones. Yes. So now here's the other side of this. You look at EVGA. EVGA is a company. Now, one, they're a good company. Don't get me wrong. They're not in this to not make money. You don't hold a large stock of 3090s on hand and cross-ship $2,000 pieces of equipment until you know damn sure what's wrong with it. Now, what that tells me is they knew that there was a hardware problem. And they knew that there was faulty equipment. And this is all speculation, but like, if you're a business, you don't do something like that unless you know. Thanks for the sub. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's funny.
Now,
yeah,
they've said they're going to refund them all. They're the whole works. That's how that fundamentally is going to work for the people's at least who had EVGA cards. We'll see about the other manufacturers if they live up to it.
I thought it was crazy when I heard that EVGA were just like straight up refunding and sending out replacement ones like straight away, and that they had stocks of them. It's like, hang on, like literally. Like, it was still in the period where essentially, it's kind of difficult to get hold of, 3000 series cars because there's not that much stocks in it. And then suddenly, like, EVGA, like, oh yeah, we've got stocks of 3090 that we're sending out. Like, I'm there thinking to myself, like, this is weird. And also, they're not like, they're not being really cagey as to, making sure that the people who are requesting RMAs for their thing are actually legit RMAs, or going through the rigmarole of what you generally tend to go through when you do an RMA request, right? Like, so I was there kind of going like, this is very odd. Jay was really kind of like, this is why I like EVGA, but I was very much in the frame of like, EVGA to be able to respond like this has to have known in advance that something like this was going to happen to their 3090 cards.
This is the move of a company that knows that something was their fault and that it was a manufacturing problem, not a software problem. And here's the reality. A video game does not have the capability of burning out your card. Now, as somebody who plays in 1440 at ultimate settings for every game that I play, my card is always running at 100%. It's not overclocked, but it's always running at 100%.
I do want to preface this real quickly, though. If you allow a program to reinstall a brand new driver to your card, then yeah, maybe a piece of software could potentially bring your card to the point where you're tripping those hardware safes, those over voltage protection, the hardware over voltage protection, and the actual fuses, because they actually have fuses on the 3090s to blow, right? As far as we know, like, this didn't happen. Like, nobody really knows as to what really kind of occurred with NVIDIA and their sort of driver release. I kind of feel like there might be issues with that, like, but I haven't heard anything about it, so I'm not sure whether NVIDIA is being really cagey about that or not. But I just wanted to say that, like, if you let like a piece of software, like, basically rewrite the driver to your hardware, then maybe like software can push your hardware to the limits. But like, that requires very select and specialized, it requires you to literally go and say, yes, reinstall this driver.
Now, that said, for New World to come out and make a statement that basically says, New World makes standard DirectX calls as provided by the Windows API. Like, I guarantee these have gone through some sort of legal review. Like, guaranteed. Company that size doesn't
yeah.
just say stuff. Do we know when they're in the process of bringing the worlds back up right now?
Yeah.
It's a longer process than anticipated because of the volume of servers that they're turning on. Just answering some questions from chat here too. So the 3090s fundamentally, we know that they've had challenges. Like, this isn't new. There is an instance of an individual who tried to shoehorn a 3090 into like what looked like a 2001 Dell case with 2 chassis fans. Here's the reality. Those cards run hot. Really crappy old cases fundamentally are not enough airflow to deal with hardware like that. There's a reason that you get a performance case. There's a reason that you deal with airflow. There's a reason you consider things like water cooling. And even then, you have to have airflow. It's really important. One of the things that happens when you do things like a sleeper build, where you're building a, top-of-the-line computer into ancient-looking computers, is you have to drill out a lot of additional vents. There's a lot of things you got to do to manipulate the case, even though that you're trying to minimize how much it looks on the outside. That said, that's a long-term concern of the heat problems, and that's a consideration. Now, here's the other side of this, and this is going to toe into the moderation discussion. Occasionally, people lie.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah.
What,
just because you heard it on the internet does not mean it's true. Now, did some cards fail? Yes. EVGA is returning cards. Did they fail while playing New World? We don't know. Did they fail? Did they all fail this week? We don't know. Are there people that are trying to get a company to ship them a new card? Because their card failed for some other reason? Possibly. We don't know those things. Are some of these other reports real? We don't know. That's the reality here.
Did you accidentally stick a plastic covered heat probe into the back of your EVGA card, and now you need to RMA it? Like, who knows?
Yeah. So now here's the other side of things. So let's talk moderation. So this got released, their general post, and an individual decided, and they deleted their tweet since, that they were going to complain that their appeal to the ban had been inappropriate. That they felt that they should get back into the game. The response from the official at Play New World handle was, "Hey, I was curious, so I looked into your chat logs. Earlier today, I actually saw this tweet. The individual provided their in-game character and server, so this was very easy for them to look up. I was curious, so I asked to see your chat logs. You were saying some pretty horrible stuff to people. I'm not surprised they didn't lift your ban. Please review our code of conduct and take it seriously." Here's the deal. This individual claimed they did nothing wrong. In fact, they went on the subreddit, claimed they did nothing wrong. And yet, here they are, where the official handle is comfortable stating that they were 100% in the wrong. Again, trillion-dollar company has a lot of lawyers, and they don't say stuff like this without knowing they're right and knowing they can back it. Now, there was a whole bunch of people that were like, "Oh, the guy who handles Twitter can't possibly have access to the in-game chat logs. That's impossible." No, it very much is. They're part of the community management team. They know what they're doing. They can ask for that, especially when in terms of defending the company publicly. Like, that is very much a thing.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, like, and that's just how
they're
it is.
They're in the community team. Like,
Yeah.
they have like the access to be able to push this up to a higher level kind of thing and check that shit out. Like some people, some people will kind of be like, oh, but how would you be able to know what this person is, because just from a message on Twitter? Well, if the person who messages the Amazon about it gives the server name, their player name and the server that they're on, then it's very fucking easy.
Mm-hmm. Now, the other side of this is that there has been reports that mass reporting individuals could potentially cause some sort of auto ban. Simply put, this doesn't seem to actually be the case. They confirmed that all of their bans earlier today. They confirmed that all of their bans are something that some physical person has to review before it goes off. So,
no, I actually have like a fair amount of I wouldn't say knowledge in this, but I've definitely I've moderated servers where clan wars and a lot of rivalry and that kind of thing has happened, and where pushing the envelope was always a thing that happened, and the envelope always ended up going past the the remit of the terms of service and EULA, and basically not using hacks and not sort of abusing glitches, that kind of thing, right?
mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where people will say that, like, they'll say that kind of stuff just to seem as though they're right. Like they'll say, oh, this, you're banning people just, or you're not looking at bans, etc., etc. When in actual fact, you definitely are. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the
the other side of this is that bans take time. Like, it's not like an instant thing.
Yeah.
So like the example of the individual who got banned while milking a cow. Sure, that might have been the last thing they were doing, but what did they do 2-3 hours beforehand that they could have been reported for? What did they say in chat? What did they do in game? There are a lot of factors there, and if it's being handled by a person, that might have just been the moment that it happened. But what did they do before that potentially got them that ban? It's not like there's somebody sitting there with the ban button over any person who's going, I'm ban this person right now, like just because they're doing this thing at this instant. Like, that's not how that works.
Process.
Like, yeah,
you have a review process, or like you always have a review process. Like,
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, in most kind of organizations, like even like the amateur as fuck kind of sort of process that we had, like with adminning a H1Z, like a private H1Z1 server for clan wars. Like, even our amateur as fuck kind of process there, like we had a 2-person system where you couldn't, like, one moderator couldn't just straight up like ban somebody. It had to be like, it had to be basically double confirmed by 2 moderators essentially before that happened. Like, and if that's what we were doing, like, you can guarantee that someone like Amazon with their with their community team, like, they'll be doing that sort of thing.
Exactly. And you do have to do some pretty bad stuff to actually get banned. Are there people being banned for swearing in chat? Possibly. But look at their total chat history. The problem is these people are going to go and they're going to try and vent because, they had their toy taken away from them. They clearly weren't responsible the first time, and, it got taken away and they were upset about it, which sucks for them. But you don't know the full story. There are so many servers out there. So unless you saw this person acting like an angel on the server, and that was the one comment that they were out of tune, let's be real. Did they probably deserve it? If the company is coming out and saying, yeah, you definitely did.
So one of the other kind of interesting things is, you you kind of brought up the sort of basically swearing on like say global chat, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can swear all you want on global chat, like, you know, the usual kind of swear words. Don't be going into sort of like, derogatory language or into isms, that kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, don't be doing that, because then you are going to be like, yeah, you are going to be heading for a bat. But like in game, you know, you can click the chat display settings and turn on and turn off language filter. Like, language filter is there to basically remove bad language from anybody who has it on. You
Mm-hmm.
can turn it off if you want, and like have a colorful language, use colorful language, and read colorful language from people, in that kind of sense. But if someone's going out their way, for example, to try and get past the language filter so they can, basically post obscenities to people who have the language filter on, then yeah, you can bet your ass that, like, that, will violate some aspect of the terms of service.
Mm-hmm.
So an end user license agreement, right? Like, that will catch you a ban.
Yeah.
Simply put.
Yeah. Now the other thing is, it doesn't take into account context. What's this channel about? This channel is the New World Order show. We're talking about the New World game from Amazon Game Studio.
Yep. It was cool to
Welcome
cool
to the
that
show.
we're on your it was cool that we're on your recommended list. That's awesome.
Yeah. So fundamentally, like from a moderation side of thing, that's the thing. As a moderator on the subreddit for r-new world game, which is currently overrun with people in mass quantities, who many don't seem to have ever been on Reddit before. We are dealing with the same stuff. There was a lot of context. There was a lot of other issues where, like, we're not banning people for swearing. We're banning people for being racist. We're banning people for, a variety of other things. Like, there is action happening there. Like, we need people to report more stuff because, simply put, there is a lot of stuff going on there. Like, earlier today, actually, I'll pull up the stats here, so you guys can see them.
Now I have to watch the show because I need to see the stats that you're talking about.
So, here's the stats for New World. This is the internal page for subreddit stats for us. So, you can see all of the charts were just destroyed by my zooming in. Or it's just going to do its own thing.
Yeah, it'll do its own thing. It always does.
Why? Why do you do this? Anyways, now that we have it back to the right size, and yeah, so here's the deal. So this is the preview, obviously. So we've doubled in size. So that's big. Subscriber rank being low on here is actually a good thing, a really good thing actually. Then comments per day, like, we were handling it down here pretty well. Comments per day, almost 5,000. If you think our moderation staff can read 5,000 posts or 5,000 comments every day, it ain't happening. Like, yeah.
Yeah, you guys will do your best, but like,
Exactly.
you're only human.
Posts per day, over 800 posts. Like, following the conversation of 800 plus posts. Do you need a Reddit mod? At the moment, no. I think we've got it handled. We're just sorting out like the internals. So here's the other thing. Like, our two mod teams of the there were, like, prior to this weekend, there were two mod teams.
There were two.
We're merging them together, and we had less than a day before everything hit the fan, and yeah.
Went fucking crazy.
Yeah. So that has created kind of some challenges. It is what it is. But simply put, when you have that kind of activity going on, it is real hard, real hard to keep track of it all. And you're catching what you can, and sometimes you have the time to dig into the context. Sometimes you don't. Like, you take the comment at face value sometimes, and if the comment at face value is bad enough to go, yeah, this person's getting a day, then boom, out the door. Do we have any spare beta keys? I don't believe so, but I believe there has been a rumor that the Twitch drops, which are enabled on this channel, also include the potential of getting a Steam key. So, just putting that out there. Has not been confirmed, but the question's been asked. Big Bear
We'll see if we can
confirms
get a
it
confirmation,
in chat.
but yeah.
I got a beta key
does?
from Drops, so okay, apparently it's a thing.
Right, okay.
So
Okay.
that
Just
means,
stick around.
watch channels and hopefully they'll drop. Like, that's the hope. And yeah, so we talked about the 3090. We talked about the moderation, which is a challenge. Like, their team has obviously not been pushed to this limit for ever, actually, because it's a new team. And the last time anything close to this would have happened would have been the preview event. Twitch drops happen kind of randomly. I think you gotta watch channels for more than an hour to get them. So,
I believe that is the case, yeah.
So, we also have some other stuff we're going to chat about. Getting back to my list here. So let's talk servers. So, servers. Currently we're down for 3 hours. They are still showing,
Somewhat unscheduled.
not nearly all of them are back online, that's for sure. A number of them are still offline. They're still trying to get them online, which is a whole process. They just installed new software in an update. Fundamentally, it's a big change. Servers should be much more stable than they have been in the past, and this should fix a lot of the lag detected and the straight up zones preventing people in, as well as just people getting disconnected randomly. A lot of that has been kind of their thing. But they are getting these servers back online. I know our server, Thule on East Coast, is back online. I'm looking forward to getting back on, following the show here. But
I'm definitely not running around right now.
Yeah,
it's feeling better.
Yes,
so
that's good.
Whatever they did was good, at least as far as I could tell.
Yep. So that's kind of a big one. From there, we've also got the servers have been going down. So I have there's multiple aspects of this. The last 2 nights, the servers have gone down for a couple hours during the same time zone. It's like the Australian time zone mixed with early European-ish. And it's a challenge because that's generally when the fewest people are online, but they always get shafted with any kind of downtime. It's the same thing with EVE Online. It's the same thing with a number of other games. When they do their server maintenance is generally when the fewest people are going to be impacted. The problem is it impacts those people the most. So, because obviously it's not impacting the others at all. So I have a feeling today's was they had a fix. Let's get the fix on as soon as possible. Solve it for everyone. And I don't think that we're going to see another 2 a.m. or 3 a.m.
Random
downtime.
Yeah.
Unless they have more changes past this, which I don't think they will if they're making If they turn the servers off for 4 hours, I doubt they're going to do that again tonight. Yeah. That said, I think overall the servers have been doing a decent job. I think there's some stress testing, which is natural with betas. Like, the purpose of betas is to check things at scale and ensure that any of the bugs and server problems are ironed out at scale. I think 190,000 concurrent users is quite the fucking scale test.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's quite the test. Now here's where we start talking about the rumors. And we're running a little bit ahead on the show timing-wise, but I wanted to talk about one of the rumors that has consistently come up. Back about 2 weeks ago, they released one of the dev blogs regarding the update. In the last paragraph, this was said.
Oh yeah.
So that's it for today. The June updates have been exciting for us as we work to polish, tune, and watch the finishing details finally start to come together in the game. We're hard at work preparing for the July 20 closed beta, followed by open beta, and our August 31st launch. We'll keep working with and playing alongside our alpha community and help inform our blah blah blah. Doesn't matter past that. Regardless, about 40 minutes later, this was taken down and replaced with one omission: the highlighted words. Now, I'm not an expert, but I can tell you that these things generally go through a lot of quality control.
Well, they definitely go through some.
Depending on the company, like CCP Games, has no control over it in terms of like, what goes out, because they're gonna, they've done everything all the way up to like torpedo individuals' reputations off of a hunch.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk about getting meta played by your players, but there's that. But I think it's not something you scrap in 50 minutes. Like, it's something that like you have plans for. You got to build those plans. You also want to make sure the beta goes well before you actually announce it. Here's the thing: this beta is actually going pretty well. We got, I'll pull up the Steam DB charts here. Yes, because Disney Plus is exactly what I wanted to open. Not even close to what I typed, but sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to watch the new Loki episode. I guess, like,
just not right now.
Yeah, just after the show. maybe after I look at the Steam DB charts, which is nowhere near the same spelling. So here's the deal. You're looking at decent audience retention here. People are dying to play this game. Now, if a 3-hour downtime in the middle of freaking Saturday is a weird one, but this has actually had some weird impacts elsewhere. McLeod knows where I'm going with this.
To a degree. Yeah, I know where you're going with this. There's a little bit of a caveat, but like still, it's kind of an understandable.
So, obviously there's a lot of hype around the game. There's a lot of like large streamers playing, and like, there's that kind of thing. The long-term impact of this, though, is that where this peaked out at 190,000 people is huge. Like, that's great, but what happens on launch? Is it going to be much bigger than that? Is it going to be, where does this go from here? Because our estimates were destroyed by this number.
Yeah.
Absolutely destroyed by this number.
You go back to sort of like the preview last year, and you look at the sort of like the peak kind of numbers there, and it's like, it's blown this, like it blew that out of the water.
Yep. Now there are a lot of people out there who are going, I don't want to play the game yet. I don't want to play, or they're looking for keys.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had people in chat already, looking for keys. But what they haven't had, and what before I get to that, what isn't there right now is that the game is not necessarily free. It is, but it's not. You have to pre-order to get in, or you have to get a key. And there's a ton of keys out there. That said, it can be a little tricky to get hold of one. But if you pre-order, you're in. Here's the deal with this. We don't know what this number is going to be. We looked at the preview and saw 52,000. Hey, 52,000 concurrent users is nothing to shame about. That's a sizable amount of people. So I was assuming maybe 120. It's closer to launch. What we didn't anticipate was 190, which that's
exactly.
That's not just spooling up additional instances of servers on a server blade. That's spooling up additional blades. That's a hardware difference. And a big one.
It was pretty insane.
Yeah, so that was big. Which is a good problem to have. In terms of problems, there are too many people trying to play the game and it's breaking our servers. Ooh, okay. That's the best case scenario. You've made a product that a ton of people want to play. Now, if they open it for an open beta, one of the challenges is going to be that all progress is going to wipe before launch. They've confirmed this dozens of times at this point. So, everybody's starting from scratch on launch, regardless. They're probably not going to, if they did an open beta, I highly doubt that they wipe progress. They're going to, if anything, they just open it up and go free to play. Free to play for the beta, not free to play for the game. Big difference. Big difference. I saw the link. Relax.
Well, good,
it's like a Jack Russell Terrier jumping up and down. Which link are you talking about now? The only one I have is the video. That's not a message from Rich.
From Mugsy?
I can't see it because it's deleting it.
I got it.
Big Bear, you have me on Discord. Send it to me on Discord.
Not that
here
one.
we go.
God damn it. No, it's not that one.
6 minutes. Oh, Jesus. 6 minutes ago, while we're on air, Mugsy, message from the New World Studio Director. Hey, everybody. I think the events of today deserve some explanation. We've had some bugs that only happen under very specific load conditions in beta. For those coders in our audience, you've probably encountered that only happens sometimes memory overwrite issue. And we're experiencing at least some of those. Interesting. Which are very difficult to diagnose. Last night, our time, we added a patch that was meant to isolate those problems. We did QA beforehand, of course, and felt it was very safe, a very safe step to take. But obviously, we were wrong. It made stability much worse. Naturally, we suspected our most recent changes were the cause, but we needed to be sure before any further change. It took us too long to understand exactly what was happening. Then we ran into unexpected issues getting servers updated afterwards. Aspects of the process that were previously highly dependable had errors. I know there is generally a lower expectation for beta stability, and I appreciate our players extend that consideration to us. I wanted to assure people we aren't taking it as license to be casual about disruption. We're on these issues as quickly as possible, and have some further patches in progress that we will test carefully and in more limited time use. Carefully and in more limited use before we patch across the service. Jesus. These guys need to learn to write sentences. There's not a lot of commas in here. That both with bugs and overall performance. Guys, this is a run-on sentence. You You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. So this will allow us to examine changes without such a broad impact. We do learn from all of this, and it helps us improve the long-term stability of the game, our patching, and our process for publishing. Thanks to everyone for the beta for participating in making the game better as we resolve the problems. And don't forget to supply your feedback either through survey or directly to us via social and forums. Your input is vital to where we take the game going forward. Okay, so that speaks to like their studio ethos of building games with the player base. So, not a whole lot of broken ground there, other than if anybody's ever encountered the memory overwrite issues. I was logged out randomly from your forums, guys. Seriously?
Yeah.
Like,
I had that sort of midway through, like reading that. I was like, oh,
live on
why am I
air!
logged out?
It's locked out of your forums. Oh. Yeah. So, good times. I'm gonna post the video that Big Bear keeps talking about. I'm gonna post it from the subreddit link that he sent me because that's what I got. You guys want to watch a comical video? There's a comical video about the state of the New World servers and that done to a downfall meme. I appreciate that, as I've made a number of downfall memes in my time. I'm not going to put Hitler on my stream.
No. I was locked out again.
So, with that, I appreciate it. That's kind of the big stuff that we had for today. We're going to keep the show rather on the short side, and we'll likely go live again a little bit after this, after I get back into the game, and we'll start streaming the Q&A. Dude, open beta would be great. I don't know what you're talking about. Open beta would be phenomenal. Be nothing but good stuff. It would overflow them with feedback and probably drown the subreddit. But
it'd be great.
We've been drinking through the fire hose the whole week anyways, so might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, overflow this. Well, they would definitely have to add more servers. Like, I'm sure at this point they're sitting there going, okay, how many racks can we open up? Yeah. So we do appreciate the number of people showing up to the show. We're infinitely thankful for our audience. Want to thank our Patreons, our followers, our subscribers, and everyone else just out there watching. You're the reason we do this, and we look forward to continuing to play the beta. If you guys are looking to watch some level 40 plus gameplay, I believe it just broke 42 or 43.
Hey, looking nice, mate.
I'll be live again in just a little bit, but we're gonna take the stream down so that we can break the VODs in half and all that, and we will be back in a little bit. That said, hoping to see you guys in the new world.